God, I'm bringing you a prayer that I believe might be the single most virtuous act a person could ever perform, a request so reasonable and so complete that it deserves to be called the perfect prayer. Nothing I could ask you for would carry more weight than this, because it reaches every being that exists rather than just the people close to me. A prayer this large in scope, aimed at ending every form of suffering everywhere, seems like the highest thing a person could possibly bring before you. It isn't asking for anything just for me or for the people I know. It's asking on behalf of every being that has ever existed, which is part of why I believe it counts as the most virtuous thing a person could pray for. Reason tells me this universe, along with the laws that keep it running in such an orderly way, didn't simply appear out of nothing on its own. Your intelligence designed it and set every part of it in motion with real purpose behind it. You brought this universe into being 14 billion years ago, and rather than there having been nothing at all before that moment, there were probably countless other universes that you started and brought to a close, one after another, long before you decided to create this one. This universe you made comes remarkably close to perfect, but it carries one real flaw running through nearly everything alive in it, and that flaw is the existence of pain. Pain wears down bodies, breaks hearts, and cuts lives short in ways that never seem to serve any real purpose. Because pain is the single problem standing between this universe and complete goodness, correcting it wouldn't require starting from scratch on every little detail. It would simply mean replacing this whole universe with an entirely new one, built completely filled with love, bliss, and goodness, without a trace of pain left anywhere inside it. Fixing this one flaw would solve everything else that follows from it, since so much of what goes wrong for any living thing traces back to pain in one form or another. Suffering reaches into every corner of life, touching countless creatures who never asked for any part of it and never had any way to escape it. Right now, more than 200 million animals are being tortured and killed in factory farms today, and that same staggering number will happen again tomorrow, and again the day after that, repeating endlessly without pause or relief. At this very moment, 20,000 children under the age of 5 will die today because of poverty, simply because the world around them hasn't cared enough to stop it, and this same tragedy will happen again tomorrow too, and the day after that. These horrors keep piling on top of each other, day after day, and nothing within this universe as it currently stands seems capable of bringing any of it to a lasting end. That's why I want you to create a new reality, one that reaches across the entire universe, touching this planet and every other part of existence far beyond it, not limited to any single world or any single group of beings. Every being who has ever lived, every being alive at this very moment, and every being who will ever come to exist should be brought into this new reality and kept there forever, held safely across all of time rather than just for a season. Whatever galaxies, worlds, and forms of life exist far outside anything we can see from here should be included in this too, since there's no reason your care would stop at the edges of what one small planet happens to know about. Nobody in this new universe should ever die, which means nobody would ever again be torn away from the people or creatures they love. Losing someone forever is one of the deepest wounds any being can carry, and a reality where that wound simply never happens would remove an entire category of suffering on its own. I want this new reality soaked completely in warmth, joy, and kindness, running through every part of it without a single exception anywhere, reaching every last being no matter how small or how forgotten. Affection, gladness, and goodness shouldn't be the only things that exist there, rather, every single being within that universe should be filled with them entirely, through and through, down to the very core of who they are. Nothing about this new reality would need fixing or improving in any way, because it would already be whole and complete the moment it began. Tenderness, happiness, and virtue would already run through everyone and everything from the very start, leaving no gap anywhere for suffering to slip back in later. I might be one of the first people who has ever prayed a request quite like this one, put together in exactly this way. It's possible that you require people to actually ask for certain things before granting them, even things that would plainly be good for everyone involved, and this could easily turn out to be one of those cases. Plenty of good things might already be within your willingness to give, waiting only on someone actually asking clearly enough, and it seems entirely possible that this particular request simply hasn't been laid out in front of you in quite this way before now. If that's true here, then my asking today, right now, in these words, might be the very piece that was missing all along. Praying this feels completely logical to me, and I want you to see the reasoning as clearly as I lay it out. Ending suffering everywhere and replacing it with a universe full of goodness benefits every single being that exists, without costing anyone anything at all. There's no downside anywhere in this request, no being anywhere who loses out because of it, and no reason for it to stay unanswered once it's been asked. Weighed against the size of what's being asked for, the request itself is small, a single new universe, made once, holding everyone inside it for good. A request this reasonable, aimed at a good this enormous, deserves to be brought before you plainly, directly, and without any hesitation on my part. You're the only being in existence capable of ending every bit of suffering everywhere, all at once, and carrying out this entire transformation would be something you could do completely easily. Building a whole new universe, filled with beings who exist eternally in warmth and goodness, is something you could accomplish just as easily, since everything is possible for you. Doing this would be completely easy for you, over in an instant, the same way you brought this universe into being 14 billion years ago and ended whatever universes came before it. Your power reaches far beyond anything that could ever stand in the way of a request like this one. There's also no religion anywhere that forbids someone from asking you for this. Nothing about this prayer conflicts with any teaching or tradition that people follow, which makes me feel even more confident bringing it to you directly and without holding anything back. Across every faith people practice, asking for an end to suffering has always counted as an acceptable thing to bring before you, and this prayer simply takes that same idea and carries it out to its fullest possible conclusion. This is simply a request for more goodness, more love, and more joy to exist everywhere, forever, for every being who has ever drawn a single breath. Bringing this prayer to you makes me happier than almost anything else I can think of doing, because it's asking for something so good, so complete, and so reasonable that it's hard to imagine anything more worth asking for. Every part of this request points toward ending suffering for good and replacing it with something that would never need to be improved upon again, not now and not later. Just putting these words together and bringing them to you fills me with a kind of joy I don't often feel in ordinary moments. Knowing that a prayer this simple could, in principle, be answered so completely and so quickly makes the act of praying it feel like a gift in itself, separate from whatever happens next. So here is what I'm bringing before you today. End the suffering that runs through this universe by replacing it entirely with a new one, filled completely with love, joy, and goodness, stretching across every part of existence, holding every being who has ever lived safely within it forever. If I need more faith that you will do this for you to do it, please grant me more faith.